Hello, good morning, and warm welcome for everyone today live and you joining on demand as well. My name is Henri from Blueye Robotics, and today in the Blueye webinar we will talk about underwater inspections, especially regarding infrastructure and water reservoirs. So basically, underwater assets and their inspections with drones. I believe this will be a good webinar for you to watch because I will be sharing some use cases from our local Norwegian municipalities, why they use drones to inspect in an efficient and safe way, and then giving some pointers of how beneficial it is to own a drone compared to relying on external services. That as a brief intro for today. Jumping into some administrative comments and pointers for today. I see there are quite a few of you joining live. Warm welcome for all. Some familiar names over there and some new ones as well. But before I start, I'd like to encourage all of you to write in the chat a short comment why you joined and potentially which industry do you work in. So maybe I can do something and adjust my webinar to match your needs. And it's always nice to hear where you're from joining. Usually we get quite a wide audience from all around the world. Make sure to write to everyone if you specifically don't want to reach only myself. So if you comment for the panelists, that will come to myself. There's the chat and then there is the Q&A button in Zoom. The Q&A will make it a bit easier for myself to reach the questions, but with a crowd that I see today, I think I'll be able to jump in both from the chat and Q&As and just keep them coming all the way, and I'll try to have a presentation of around 30 minutes or so today and then save some time for questions in the end. And Jose from Portugal, welcome, and nice to hear from all of you others as well. Like I said in the beginning, my job is to host these webinars, of course, but I'll also share knowledge regarding Blueye Robotics and underwater drones. For the past 2 years, I've been talking about supporting external service providers such as divers, which is the normal, usual way of doing underwater inspections, and how drones can support maintenance engineers or waterworks people all around the world to perform their own inspections. There are some new people here today as well. So Blueye is a company founded 5 years ago, and we have sold over 800 underwater drones to 40 countries or so. And I'm currently sitting here in Trondheim, our headquarters, where we have around 20 people, highly skilled engineers and sales department as well, in addition to 27 partners all around the world to help all of you get on board. Going to the agenda of today. First of all, I'll give a little intro on why does one need to take care of their assets, and here today asset means underwater infrastructure, and then going towards common use cases of inspecting these assets, and the most use cases today will be coming from Norwegian municipalities and hydro plants, where we have the most experience from at Blueye. And coming towards the end, I'll give 5 pointers why to consider underwater drones in general compared to, for example, divers. And as we go, I again recommend and remind you to ask as many questions as possible. That's the benefit of joining live compared to watching a recording later on. So, why do we need to take care of our underwater assets? That may be a stupid question, but like in general, especially in the Nordic countries, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, that we've been focusing a lot on ourselves, we see that the underwater infrastructure is extremely old. So it dates back to the 50s or 60s, and in many cases, and I'm sure this is very similar to many other countries as well. But what I've seen when I visited clients is that in many cases, when we deploy the drone during a demonstration, it is the first time that these maintenance people and these owners of these assets get to actually see what's below the surface with their own eyes in real time. And it is really important to perform inspections in a proactive manner to extend the lifetime of the assets, to know what's going on below the surface, compared to scheduled inspections, or even not inspecting at all. So in this time and age, it is more important than ever to prolong activities and be able to prioritize which activities are done first, which pipelines do need more attention. Where do we start? There's so many. For example, in Norway, there's, I believe, over 1,500 different types of water reservoirs in very rural areas. Similar in Sweden. In Finland, there's massive amount of hydro dams that are in different sizes. And what's common for all of these is that there's very little resources to inspect them and take care of them and know the condition. But at the same time, there is high pressure, high regulations of keeping it safe, because if we talk about water reservoirs, for example, drinking water, it is common sense that drinking water needs to be kept clean, and it's until something happens that's when the problem starts. So with underwater drones, for example, one can secure obviously the water itself, but also make sure that everyone knows that these inspections have been done on a scheduled manner, and there's proper documentation of these inspections. So the whole idea of infrastructure and trying to make it last as long as possible is very beneficial for our customers, and something that they want to document in a proper way, and especially prioritizing, because as I said, the resources are limited in terms of human resources as well as money. But trying to take care and prioritize would be the main reasons why inspections and frequent inspections are necessary. But I'll look at a little short video at this stage to give a bit more real life understanding of what we do with inspections. And this video is filmed here in Norway in a water reservoir close by, and it is before COVID times, so as you can see, people are standing quite close to each other. right, that was some nice footage on above and below the surface. So everything filmed below the surface was obviously filmed by a Blueye underwater drone, as are all pictures in this presentation today. And what you could see, for example, I see Carlos is asking, can you rise the drone from the tether? And as you saw over there, Uda was deploying the drone from the tether from 10 meters height or so. So in a safe manner, it can be lowered. The tether holds over 100 kilos of weight, so despite it being extremely thin, it is very durable and can hold the weight of the unit as well. But in that video, you could see already some great use cases and some great footage from very clear waters here in Norway. But there's a great comment from NRC group regarding the drone, and really putting emphasis in the ease of use and the minimal amount of training. And as you can see from this picture, there is a whole bunch of people attending. We did do a little course while we were filming some footage for ourselves, but that's something that our customers see, that our unit is you don't need to specialize in becoming a drone pilot. In infrastructure inspections is usually quite easy, as there's very little to get tangled with. So our local municipalities are happy to share the unit for different users. So it's not only a one-person job. It can be shared within many people inside the organization or inside the municipality. And of course, the more challenging the inspections become, the more current there is, the more areas there is to tangle, more practice is needed. But this type of open water inspections, like looking at pipelines, for example, are fairly easy to do and can be deployed within minutes, which is a very different than these old type of ROVs, where you basically need an engineering degree just to turn it on or take care of maintenance. So what we've wanted to build in Blueye is an underwater drone that everyone can use, whether you are a maintenance engineer or you are just for example, a hydro dam asset manager who needs to travel a lot. It can be localized in one place, or it can be shared from one area and then several people using it. So in that sense, robustness, reliability and user friendliness are extremely important. In general, infrastructure inspections for us is waterworks, freshwater reservoirs, wastewater areas, hydropower plants. Water tanks are more used in Central Europe and Asia, for example. And here our customers are looking for anomalies. They're looking for fouling. They're looking for leakages, potentially foreign objects, in a very general manner, performing visual inspections to know what the condition of the asset is, how they are aging. And the common factor is also that these assets, infrastructure doesn't age really quickly, but there is so much to inspect. So in many areas I see that, for example, hydro plants are inspected on an annual basis, but there are hundreds of plants to inspect. And drone is a great tool to be used in potential incidents. So because the time is very quick from the moment that I need to inspect tomorrow, that you can actually go without relying to call someone and travel with you. So that is this type of periodized, scheduled every year, every 6 months type of inspection is really good because of the cost savings. But at the other side, damage inspections or ad hoc inspections are really easy to do with underwater drones. And another example, and when we look at specifically water reservoirs, is obviously different types of pipelines going below the surface to inspect the joints, to inspect fouling, potentially leakages. And the good thing about pipeline inspections is the great quality images you get and the video you get, but also that it is very easy because the object that you are inspecting is not moving compared to, for example, in a ship inspection, there's a lot more happening below the surface, and a pipeline inspection is something that we see first timers always being able to perform. There's usually nothing above you, and there's very little danger involved for the inspector or the robot itself. Here we have a quote from one of our customers from a local municipality. Before we had to send divers who reported what they saw. With this technology, we get live footage on our screens while the drone is in the water filming the pipes. We can now immediately see if there are leaks or damages of the pipes. So in this immediate factor is that you see real time. The person who is involved can get a wide understanding. He just doesn't have to rely on what another person filmed for 1 minute or 2 minutes. He can actually spend that 1 or 2 hours looking for what he or she believes is important and make decisions at spot and get the details necessary, and also move to places where divers can't move. So if you remember from the video, it's a cool picture with very nice colors, but this is inside a pipe where UV radiation is used to treat the drinking water, but it's common sense already says that an underwater drone is pretty much the only way to look inside this type of pipe. There is no diver that is going in there due to safety reasons, and in this case it's really important to look in, to look at the soldering, to look at the joints inside the pipe, look for fouling, and make sure that everything is good. We are talking about in this case about drinking water, which is an extremely important and valuable job to enable the whole society having fresh water to drink. And there are obviously cases of contaminated water, and it is the link directly from buy an underwater drone and you'll never have contaminated water. That's not what I'm saying, but the more you inspect, the more you take care of assets, the better chances there are to spot those leakages, to spot aging infrastructure, to be able to prioritize what to do after you see what it is. So it always comes down to what you see, what you know, the better you can act upon. And if you trust yourself, you are the responsible person of this asset, whether it's a pipeline or a joint of a hydro plant or a gate of a hydro plant. You want to know how your asset is this year compared to last year or compared to 5 years ago, without having to rely on someone else give that information. But obviously Trondheim Bedrift, one of our local customers, is quoting here that we use the underwater drone to assess the state of the soldering, weights and mountings on the pipelines. We're also able to drive the drone inside the pipe to inspect fouling and errors. The drone, one of the benefits is obviously its size, and compared to a human, it is only worth $15,000 or so, which is amount of money compared to a safety issue with human power, where I still want to believe that there is no price on that kind of activity, but that money, that investment can be shared with many people within the organization, as long as we're talking about something that's related to underwater inspections. The lifetime is extremely long. So for example, I recall a northern municipality purchasing 2 units, and their investment plan was comparing services performed in a 5-year range, and that with proactive inspections, in general, the savings can be made within 6 or 12 months from the investment of the unit, and with very low training costs and operative costs after the investment. It makes sense for local municipalities and hydro companies to start looking at these actions in-house. But as you go, I want to remind all of you to ask questions as well. If this is new, or if you want more detailed intel, just make sure to ask, and I will do my best to provide. I'll spend some time with this slide, and not just looking at why consider a Blueye underwater drone, but in general why consider using technology, underwater technology, to inspect your assets. So, as I was already talking a little bit on the previous slide, cost savings is something that we are almost all looking into, and under pressure to perform more with less, and that's something we see in the municipalities. That's something we see with hydro companies, to look for those savings, because every time you have to I would say the status quo below the surface is to hire a dive team, and in Europe and in many parts of the world, it is a dive team. Is not one person who can go there and perform the inspection. It's always a team, which adds up cost. Of course, the benefit of the diver is that it's completely outsourced. The only thing you have to take care of as the person responsible for the asset is to schedule it, and people will come and make the inspection and take footage and give you the insight you need, and all you need to do is make the call and schedule and pay for it. But the more you want to do that, the more often, the more proactive type of inspections is needed. The more beneficial it becomes to own the technology itself. So it is always a case of, and by no means do I want to be here telling you that owning the drone is the only way. We have hundreds of service providers as our customers as well. But the more proactive type of work you do, the more rural your inspections are, for example, the more benefits one can get from owning the unit itself. And it is, at the end of the day, to see yourself compared to rely on someone else, to work with monthly budgets on how much do you have to put into an asset compared to a one-time investment, and then inspect as much as you have time. Those are the type of questions, and those are the type of things that our customers are thinking about in waterworks and in underwater infrastructure inspection use cases. So we've seen that it's very dependent on where you are and what kind of inspections you are doing, but roughly with the municipalities, within a year, 6 months to a year, the investment is potentially paid back. Another point that I put out here is sharing is caring, but on a more serious note, that documenting is also making sure that you can not save yourself, but show that this infrastructure is taken care of to avoid when things happen, or to in general to avoid things to happen. But documenting is extremely important, and one can plan their own documentation. So for example, at Blueye we have put a lot of emphasis into Microsoft Teams integration. So there can be a scenario where the drone pilot is the underwater drone pilot is diving at the water reservoir and sharing that information to other people working potentially in the home office just through a 4G network, looking at Teams, or performing a report directly from the drone, minimizing the time of reporting and getting a consistent reporting base to show that, yes, I was here in April 2020, yes, I was here in May 2021, and so on and so on, looking at how things develop below the surface. So bringing more people involved in the inspection within the organization, and as well making sure that there is footage stored to secure any types of incidents that could happen in the future. Looking at questions. So Carlos is asking, what about chlorine attack to plastic parts from already treated drinking water? So don't necessarily understand completely chlorine attack, but that's when, in general, the Blueye drone is built to operate in fresh water or ocean water, but the more chemicals come into place, it's necessary to look into how much of that chemical there is, and what is the density of the chemical, and how long it is there. Is it 100% chlorine or a few percent? But that's something that we could, Carlos, look at one-to-one, as it's very specific. But in general, when we talk about freshwater reservoir inspections, that's the same for fish farmers, that is really important to disinfect, or anyway, dip the drone to make sure that there is not contamination going from one place to another. So in water cases, it's extremely important to take care of that with the right amount of chemical to disinfect the unit. My vocabulary isn't perfect for that scenario, but yes, every time the unit is cleared before it's deployed, and that's another reason why, for example, municipalities have one unit for drinking water and one unit for wastewater to ensure that. But cleaning the unit is really simple and easy. Third part I wanted to mention, if you think back to the video earlier in this webinar, you could see one lady and one man carrying the unit, a tether in the left hand and the drone in the right hand. So mobility is extremely beneficial. We use a battery so that one can even take a rowing boat and or a motor boat, depending on what kind of area you're inspecting, and move with the drone, compared to older technology that relies on surface power. You need to park your car very close to the hydro plant or very close to the asset that you're inspecting, and then you're within a limited range. But with newer technology such as ours, one can easily move from place A to place B, even in rural locations around mountains, go on a boat, access places that divers couldn't go due to current, for example, or access places where battery power wouldn't be there. So we run on a 2-hour battery, and the changing it is a matter of a few minutes. So with an extra battery, you can get a full day of inspections done. And to highlight, it's 10 kilos is quite, or 20 pounds for our North American friends. It is a sweet spot in terms of weight, how much a unit can take current, but is still mobile, so that one can carry it with a one-person operation. It's sometimes ideal to have two helping with the tether or making notes while you're inspecting, but in many cases it becomes also a resource question. So as I, for example, travel, when I travel to customers, always operating alone, so it is very, very possible to work alone and carry it yourself, and that's a key factor for many of our municipalities, so that they can just take the drone with them and go and have it in the water within a few minutes, which helps in this kind of proactive inspection scenarios. Robustness is obviously important, and I believe that is more important in the case when we talk about infrastructure, because as I said earlier, infrastructure is not like it changes within a day. It's not like I go to the pier outside of the office and then film, and then I go the next day that like the concrete has significantly changed. It's more a matter of doing it every 6 months or every year, or I think in hydro there's some differences, but some do it every 6 months and some do it every year. And I know there are assets that have never been inspected during the last 20, 30 years. The longer the unit you have lasts is definitely beneficial for you to get those savings and benefits. And for us, it's out of 800 units, we don't have leakages involved. So these products are built to last and proven by the Norwegian fish farmers, where there is a saying that what can be broken will be broken, and we're doing a pretty good job with them keeping the units operational at all times. So in this infrastructure use case, one can easily rely on 5 years of usage, even more to 10 years. But I like to use 5 years mostly to the fact that if I look 5 years back, what kind of technology was there below the surface, there's things that go forward in quite a rapid speed. So within a 5-year time frame, I'm sure the investment has paid itself back, but also provided enough value to look at another unit as well. But that said, hardware lasts for a long time, but at Blueye we're consistently developing software as well. So bringing new features, for example, new applications to bring many people looking at the inspection. Our reporting feature that we launched some time ago was a new feature that also the users who bought from us several years back got that feature through software. So software can keep the hardware alive for a long time and bringing new cases out there. So the more we hear from our customers, the more we can develop on that front. Lastly, here I have user friendliness, and I've some months ago started my personal campaign against putting some focus on what does user friendliness actually mean, so that it's not just a fluffy word that me and my colleagues, salespeople, use. For my perspective and our customers' perspective, user friendliness means something that can be deployed within minutes, and first time users can get value out of it in a quick way. And there it is a combination of hardware and software that's built and designed in a manner that it makes common sense. So you don't need to spend the first 2 weeks reading manuals and videos. It doesn't hurt, but intuitive controlling. So when you go left, it goes left, and when you go right, it goes right. This type of activities or features or qualities make products user-friendly. We use gaming controllers that for many people are comfortable in their hand, and even though one wouldn't be a big gamer, it makes sense, like I said, to turn the joystick to the left and so on. We use mobile devices. The benefit of those are that everyone has one, and we use an application so that we can constantly try to improve usability, the user experience through different kind of features within the app. But I'd say after 2 years, like I said, speaking about the difference between diving and difference between using the drone, the most common feedback I get from the customers is, oh yes, this is intuitive, this is easier than I thought, and finally I can see something. And the excitement of for example, asset managers in hydro plants when they see something for the first time with their own eyes is one reason why I'm in this job. And looking at the municipalities being able to take over the responsibility for themselves without having relying on external people is reasons why we are doing this. So there's a good question from Marius asking what's the difference between the Blueye drone compared to, let's say, chasing M2. Being very specific with the model from chasing, but the main differences that I would point out is that our weight is 2 times higher. So using the common sense, there's something that weighs 10 kilos. You can imagine what kind of hardware, what kind of material is being used to build that compared to something that weighs 4.5 kilos. So that is very light for situations that there is current in. And it's not only the weight, but it's the weight and the design of the unit. So for us, there's a lot of effort put into the hydrodynamic design of the unit, where we have a heavy bottom and a light top, creating the self-stabilizing movement of the drone. If I look back to you, you'll see behind me the unit. So the design is extremely unique, so it keeps the camera always as the most stable part of the unit. I've seen that the weight is really important for stability on the hardware side. We can show that out of 800 units we don't have leakages, for example, so that's a robustness behind that. I would also point out great experiences in this topic from local municipalities. We have a dozen Norwegian municipalities inspecting water reservoirs quite frequently, but also big industrial companies in fish farming and in the shipping industry, as well as offshore. And I'm not saying that M2 is not a great unit. I'm pointing out the differences, but from my perspective, the biggest differences are in software development, being able to build a report within a minute after you've dived, not having to rely on going back to the office, putting the drone, connecting to the desktop, looking at the images, looking at the videos, and then documenting something. So the reporting feature is really unique for us, as well as the ability to share through Microsoft Teams. And lastly, I'd say that, for example, in the Blueye, there's not going too technical, but there's basically a computer inside. There's an operative system. We call it Linux. It's a custom operating system. Blueye and Linux comes to Linux, and compared to the chasing models, they are built in a very different way with less power to process, which will be very beneficial going forward with more smart applications. But that would be my rough comparison: stability, user friendliness, robustness, proven in the market. And if you want to look more in depth, I'm happy to go through that with you, Marius. Just contact myself. I see time is running very quickly. Thank you for the question. I really appreciate that, Carlos and Marius. I want to look into the next steps. What could happen after this? And in that scenario, just give me a second. I'll point out the link for all of you. I'll write it in the chat. Too many buttons on my end. All right. So because of travel restrictions and so on, like many of our customers want to see more than marketing footage, what I showed early on today. So we want to offer a possibility to do a private inspection of, for example, a local pier here in Trondheim, or some pipeline, or basically almost anything that you want to see. So through the link that I posted in the chat, you can go through the page and send a request for myself and our team, and we will be happy to schedule 30 minutes, 45 minutes with yourself that we will deploy the drone below the surface, and all you need to do is be comfortable in your home office or your actual office, have a cup of coffee, let us know what you want to see, and we will be operating the drone through Microsoft Teams, and there we can collaborate in real time. It's not going to give you the true feeling of how the unit works and moves, but it will give you a great insight into if you're in command, how will the operator work and how does it respond. That will give you a chance to see 30 minutes of underwater footage compared to edited footage from a pool or area where there is no current. So I think in this time where it's harder than ever to get access to the unit itself because of travel restrictions, the team's meeting with our team is a great way to get as close as possible and see some real footage. So even what I showed earlier today, it's edited and like is so many other films in the market as well. But through Teams you will see for yourself, and you can challenge our team and ask questions about specific use cases for yourself. And at the end of the dive, we will show how reporting and documenting is done and how quickly you will get it immediately after the dive. This is one option. Another option for next step is obviously if you go through that link that I shared, we will see if you're from outside Norway or from wherever you are. If we have a partner in that area, like I mentioned, we have 27 partners all around the world. If there's someone close by and it is possible to schedule something physical, I'll make sure that you are connected with our local people. And obviously, there's a lot of material on our website to continue researching, looking up use cases and videos on your own time. So if it's not the right time to schedule the meeting, you can continue evaluating products and looking at the aspects on your own. One thing I like to always remind in these webinars is to check out my name, connect with me in LinkedIn, for example, and stay in just touch with me. Give me a chat or send me an email, henry@blueye.no, and let me know how I can help you at the end of the day. That's why I have these webinars. That's why my team is eager to get in contact to help you inspect your assets more frequently in a more safe way and get value and safety out of it as much as possible. But in short, just let us know how we can help, and we will be available for you. I am ending up on my end. I'm very open for questions, so keep those coming if you have any. So like Paraj writing, thanks for the webinar, very insightful, nice to hear. There's questions about localization from Abdel Malek. Can you specify a little bit about what you mean by localization? Matteo is asking, what attachments can you put on the ROV? Sonars, extra cameras, do you have experience with that setups or balancing using in that condition? So the footage that we have shown today, what I've been focusing on is a tool for visual inspections, and that's the platform we have available in the market today to use the camera to document on a visual basis. Obviously, when we look at attachments, it is really needed, and in the special service provider market, it is very needed, and that's the most frequent asked question I get in all customer interactions. So within some months, we are coming with a new model out that looks from the outside the same as ours, but it will be enabled with a guest port, which will enable additional accessories such as positioning systems or multi-beam sonars or gripper arms, extra lights, and so on to make the visual underwater tool into like a greater tool or with more variants. But as you know, probably as you're asking these questions, these equipment come with a price as well. So many customers see the value in just the visual aspect, but we are developing very hard on the attachments. And for some, considering buy now or later, like I said, we're building on existing hardware, so it will be future proof for others. But there will be, if you stay in touch with us, you will hear very soon about balancing and using our ROV with extra equipment. But we've been testing heavily for the past year or so with accessories. Carlos is asking, pipe cable tracking, you follow the pipe driving manually with the joystick, or is there automatic tracking accessory app? In general, the easiest way is to drive manually or use the auto heading function that we have. So the auto heading function locks the compass reading to a certain direction, but following a line, following a pipe is extremely easy to do, as you have something to focus on. So our customers do it manually. To look at automatic tracking, more autonomous move, that would require some more development to actually, and we are developing, but computer vision applications and some more accessories to get a distance, for example. So those are kind of applications that our future models will be moving towards to keep a distance from where it is. But for a pipeline inspection, like the images you saw earlier today, I would say in many cases the accessories and software applications are an overkill. It is really simple to follow that, and as we had a demonstration with you, Carlos, before, you could see like I didn't need computer vision to go from the pier to the car that I inspected, and that was 30 meters away. Of course, I've been there before, but it does need to overcomplicate navigation below the surface in many cases. In some cases it's needed, but in pipeline inspection, I'm fairly confident that's something that's easily done. All right, if there's any other questions, please shoot or come to me personally later or through the link that I shared in the chat. But this has been a pleasure for myself, as always. There will be a new webinar next week. It's a bit of a different topic. We were talking about ship inspections. I'll have a guest, Captain Gaurav Lal, with me to see some insights from the market of shipping. But for today, for the world of infrastructure inspections and water reservoirs, I think we will call it a day today. I wish you a great Thursday, and if you're watching on demand, thank you for watching, and let's stay in contact. Enjoy the rest of the week, everyone.